And just look at my notes that way. Can't really read it on the black, that kind of stuff.
Maybe turn off the light. Scandinavian.
I don't know. So anyway, I'm Jordan Ringo, and this is also my second year. I'm a senior in also the software engineering program. And I actually started in 2011, back when this campus was over at Hillsborough. I don't know if a lot of people here know that it actually used to be over there.
You know, part of this campus was in Hillsborough.
Yeah, well, there was a couple.
Yeah, another part of it was in Clackamas, another part of it was in Beaverton, and
Right.
another part of it was in Forest Grove.
And so, as if you can't read that, my second internship was at Intel Security, which is now a part of Intel, and I was going to go over some of the.
Are you going to full screen that?
Well, I will after this.
Start from current slide. Run a slideshow.
Right. I know. So I was going to just talk a little bit about the general history, and then go into some of the actual details about the campus, about some of the projects that I worked on, maybe some of the projects that other interns worked on, the team culture, and stuff like that. So if you're not aware, Intel Security actually used to be McAfee, and that was founded in 1987. And actually, there's a funny story. We're not actually supposed to mention the founder because of all the crazy legal stuff that happened with him. So just pretend I didn't say anything about him. But that's where the name came from. And for a while, they were trying to acquire other things like desktop managers and really random things. But in 2004, they really focused on just focusing on security products. And I think that's partially why over the years after that, Intel gained an interest in them, because they wanted to acquire a company that could complement their hardware products with software products that are based on security. And so in 2010, they announced the purchase that I think was worth $7.68 billion or something like that. And in 2011, they actually officially acquired McAfee, and it wasn't until 2014 when they decided to actually finally rebrand the company into Intel Security, so that it kind of tied in with the Intel brand. That said, they still have they wanted to maintain the red shield logo because it was so recognizable. And most, if not all, of the products still use the McAfee name, just because it has such recognizability. Just as a company, I think they wanted to do away with that founder history. So when I first started, we actually were in. We actually hadn't moved into Intel Ronler Acres, where we actually are now. And we were just kind of right next to the Hillsborough Tansport Mall. And in July, we actually moved into the Hillsborough Ronler Acres campus, and that's the largest Intel campus actually in the world. And but Intel Security as a whole has their headquarters is in Santa Clara, California, and they have offices all over the world. Another big one is in Plano, but there's satellite campuses, in Germany, India, and a whole bunch of contract workers too. I think in total there's over 8,000 employees in just Intel Security. Obviously, I would assume that most of you know, or at least knew, what McAfee was, and that they had antivirus products, at least for what we would probably know is just like the consumer antivirus firewall type of stuff. I also have business products that do the same thing, but on a grander scale. stuff that protects data centers like databases and relational databases, security as a service like things that are spam blockers or email encryption and so forth. This is just a map of the campus. It's hard to see. This is Runler Acres, and the stuff outlined in red is the entire perimeter, and it's actually 3.2 miles around. I know this because when I was training for Hood to Coast, I would run around it. And this is the specific building that Intel Security is in. Just for like a reference scale, the Portland Hops, that's their field, and over here is Tanasbourne Mall, and the Evergreen Theaters is just off the map. In Runler Acres alone, there's over 14,000 employees. There's multiple buildings that are connected by walkways and not connected that you have to take buses to get to. And there's 4 different fitness centers. Each building has a cafe. There's dry cleaning. There's a First Tech Bank. And you even have a spa and a salon. So as far as time and money goes,
I never got to ask this to one of the people that work at the Hillsborough campus, but how bad is the traffic coming and going out?
It's actually not too bad coming in because I live downtown, and actually coming into Hillsborough only takes like, I don't know, 25 minutes. It's really weird. But if you were to leave at 5, I mean, good luck having that under like 50 minutes. And they were doing construction on that off ramp, kind of just right outside the hotel. So that was kind of, actually they still are, so that can be kind of bad. So that actually leads into this pretty well because it is 40 hours a week, but the hours are flexible. In fact, a couple of members on my team, they started at 6 and left at 2, just because they don't like to deal with traffic and they like to be early birds. Like he said, it's good to try to keep consistent, but as long as you get your work done, they don't really seem to care as much. Everybody, at least in my team, there's one team that can't because of the stuff they do, but most people get a laptop, and you're given the opportunity every once in a while to work from home if your manager okays it. And being a part of Intel, you get all your holidays paid, and it's kind of cool, you get 3.7 hours of PTO per 2-week pay period. So you actually get like time off pay. I think in total, I'm going to have I haven't used any yet, but I'll have like over 40 some hours. And if you don't use it, they'll just add it to your final paycheck. And compensation, they don't like us to write it down there, but if you ask me, they said I could tell you. They're really competitive, and they pay higher for the second year interns. So yeah, I think I only know, not that money is the only important thing, but there's only, I think, one other company that I know of that pays more than Intel. So that's a definite advantage. And there's other perks too. So for fun, there's this website called A Great Place to Work, and it offers a bunch of different things that you could win, like tickets to, just by being an employee. You just have to sign up to potentially win that. I got tickets to a Blazer game. Intel Advantage, you get employee pricing on, I think, a couple of items. I haven't actually bought anything yet because I'm saving money. But there's also a bunch of TVs. There's pool tables, foosball. They have food carts that come in regularly, I think once every month or a couple of weeks. For us, at least for OIT interns, that at least I don't know if all interns, soft CSET, it's always summer, fall, but a lot of the Intel interns that that they get from other schools and other areas. They start, I think, spring, summer. And it kind of sucks a little bit because a lot of the Intel sponsored intern stuff happens during that time schedule instead. So like they have intern snack times and Intel involved events, but pretty much after the first 3 months, that all ended. So I did already mention that they have like the gyms and spas and cafes and all that stuff, and you get free fruit. There's vending machines for soda, it's all free. And another big one for me, since I'm not living with my parents and I'm slightly older, is that they offer health insurance. And they have multiple different options, like some that are no money out of pocket, which is pretty cool for an internship. And the dental and eye, you have to opt in, but it actually is really good. So I don't know, for reference, I actually went and got an exam, and it was totally free, and Ray-Bans even would only cost $20. And then there's a bunch of shuttle services. If you need to go to another building, you just hop on one of the buses and they take you around to the other side of the campus. So I had some notes on this slide, so I wanted to back out. Oops. So before I talk about my specific team, I wanted to just briefly mention some of the stuff that other interns worked on. Because I'm going to be honest, my team's stuff isn't as exciting. One of the interns that I know was working in the platform technologies, and it was more of the under the hood kind of C code that dealt with kernel interactions, and it's like basically the stuff that actually knows how to block threats. And then another intern, actually there was a bunch of interns that worked in the malware ops team, and they actually work in this room called the zoo, and it's a room with only one entry, and there's no windows. And the reason is because they actually get to see all the incoming viruses and all the stuff that's been popped up on all the products that people and customers are using. So they see a lot of bad stuff. And you can't bring a cell phone in there or like a computer or anything, because otherwise you won't be able to take it out. And then another intern in my team, they worked on big data, import and exports, trying to see how fast they could get it to go. I can't remember the program name, Spark, Kafka. But my specific team was with and Intel doesn't really like you to talk about all of the team members' names or the project names or the official team names, but mine was the big data team. That's not the official name. And we basically dealt with, or I dealt with what the giant database of millions or billions of records of samples or virus. Some of them, they could be viruses, they could be clean files. It's just whatever the software tracks and keeps a record of is stored in the database. And we have hundreds and hundreds of stored procedures that we have, a lot of what I did was fixing bugs or creating new stored procedures to get data for researchers. One of my larger projects was to create a new schema or database schema. So I had to create the schema itself, create the database tables, the interactions between the tables, all the indexes and stored procedures to load data in and export data out of the data tables. And then also the stored procedures that then would tie to an internal website for reports. And that actually leads into the other main project that I worked on, which was an internal website that was based in C#, just like an ASP kind of website, but on the back end, everything that was running it was stored procedures. So I did have a little bit of both, the SQL and the C# code to get the displays for the data. And I think I said this already, but the researchers would within other departments would then use that internal website to analyze the different samples and so forth. This is sort of just a diagram of my team, and it kind of is reflective of the overall team culture within Intel Security. I think Intel as a whole actually likes to have sort of a layered kind of system, and they don't like to have too many managers with, say, only 1 or 2 people under them. So I think they like to have bigger groups at least. So a manager might have, 8 people under them, and then their managers would have, people managing them and so forth and so forth. Oh yeah, so we would have, as a team, we would have weekly meetings. Our managers, we would have one-on-ones every 2 weeks. And then our mentors, we interact with on a daily basis. And then we also had cross-departmental interaction. So every time you're making changes to a code, you have to submit it to QA, and they have to approve it before it can go into source control. It's just sort of a timeline of the projects that I was working on, and I already talked about some of them. Basically, the entire time I was working on just the big data store procedures, and there's just hundreds and hundreds of them. Anything from changing a data type to writing a whole new store procedure. There's schema creation is on there. Oh, and so Intel also likes, and Intel Security, they like to provide opportunities for learning as well. So one of the weeks I was there, we actually had a test-driven development class where a guy came in and taught it to everybody in our department. So that was actually kind of a cool experience. The tools and programs that we used are pretty standard. For the database stuff, it was all SQL. Used SQL Server Management Studio. For the website, just Visual Studio. But as far as like keeping track of everything, all of the bugs that we worked on, we called them BZs because we used Bugzilla to manage and keep track of all of the tasks that we're working on. And whenever we finished one, we would submit it to Code Collaborator, and that was just, it automatically sends emails to everybody within the team and the quote-unquote reviewer. And then once they, it's kind of cool because it shows all the differences in the code, and it even keeps track of how long you've viewed the review document. And then just Visual SVN, or towards SVN for source control. We're supposed to talk about what we learned and what's useful and stuff. I think kind of like you said, everything's useful, but really when you get there, it's like, it is kind of like you don't really know anything because everybody's different and everybody has a setup that they use that's unique from some other company. But obviously for mine, databases was huge. That's probably the biggest one for my specific team that I was working on. I don't really need to talk about it. And so my first internship was actually with ON Semiconductor, and there was some similarities, but it was pretty different. So all of you, I guess none of you have actually been selected by companies yet, right? Oh yeah. So I actually, it was an interesting place to work, but as I think for the software side of things, it wasn't quite as interesting because their culture is, they like to put all the interns together and kind of isolate them off on their own. And there wasn't really like much direction. It was far less guidance. It was sort of just like a one-on-one interaction with your sponsor. Each intern had their own project. But I mean, it was good overall. I think I enjoyed my experience at Intel Security a little bit more just because of the team culture aspect, plus the campus and the buildings and the perks are kind of nice as well. I don't know. Is there any questions?
I wonder about, I don't know that much about security issues, but I wonder if there's a way to use hardware more as a fundamental security feature as opposed to software. You know, if Intel, is doing anything like that.
I don't. Well, pretty much the teams and the interns that I talked about is the extent of my interaction. I'm sure if there is some sort of cool experimental way that they're probably looking into it, but they're also very secretive. So if there was, they probably, unless I was on the team, I wouldn't know about it.
What do you dislike the most about Intel Security?
I think it would be different based on what like team you're in though. For mine, so while I liked the people on the team in general, that I don't think that big data is really my forte. So I think that did get kind of a little bit tedious from time to time until I started working on some of like the bigger projects where I got to create my own like schema and work on the C# website as well and sort of tie that all together. But if you were just solely working on big data, it does get a little bit tedious.
You can have your slides up on the new site.
Yeah, I think actually every presenter's stuff or PowerPoints are supposed to already be up there. I think back in September even. I did modify mine a little bit, but it's mostly all there. So.
Are you graduating? Are you going to be working for any of the companies, or what's
I guess
plans?
so. I did forget to mention that Intel as a whole and Intel Security, since they're a part of them now, if they like you, they will basically give you a letter saying, hey, we want to hire you when you're done. So if I wanted to work there, maybe, even if it's not in that same division, they basically have an open offer. I don't know if I will or not. I do know that my manager has specifically, like, we've actually talked that since this isn't my direct passion, the big data stuff, that he thinks that he wants me to work at Intel Security when I'm done, but he has ideas, for other divisions for me. But I don't have anything squared away just yet. But it is cool that Intel will basically say, yes, we have an open offer for you because you did a good job during your internship. So if you don't screw up, he'll basically have an offer.
Interesting. All right, thank you, Jordan. Okay, I thank you, Jordan and Albert, for coming in, and good luck.